At least 9 advertisers have pulled their ads from Laura Ingraham's Fox News show, and that, of course, is following her tweet mocking David Hogg for not getting into universities that he applied to, even though he had a 4.2 GPA. This was the tweet in question. David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges to which he applied and whines about it. Dinged by UCLA with a 4.1 GPA, it's actually 4.2. Totally predictable given acceptance rates. Okay, and then she linked to a Daily Wire article that, again, just completely made things up. David Hogg never complained or whined about not getting into these colleges. During a TMZ interview, he just said it's highly competitive. And then he also brought up an important issue, the issue of student loan debt. But there was no whining in that interview whatsoever.
He whined about getting shot at.
Yeah.
What a whiner.
And let's keep it real. That's really what Laura Ingraham doesn't like hearing about, okay? The right absolutely hates the fact that David Hogg, Emma Gonzalez, and other students from Parkland, Florida are pushing for change and succeeding in change when it comes to the issue of gun control. Now, these advertisers pull out, including Nutrish, dog food brand, TripAdvisor, Nestle, Hulu, Joseph A. Bank, Nestle, Expedia, Wayfair, all of these advertisers are pulling out. And in the middle of all of that, Laura Ingraham realizes, I need to apologize because this is gonna hurt my profits. And we can't have that. And so her apology goes as follows. Any student should be proud of a 4.2 GPA, including David Hogg. On reflection, in the spirit of Holy Week, I apologize for any upset or hurt my tweet caused him or any of the brave victims of Parkland. For the record, I believe my show was the first to feature David. Okay, whatever.
Back to me, right?
So has David Hogg accepted her apology? Well, the first tweet that he put out in response to all of this was my personal favorite. He used the hashtag shut up and be objective. And that was a reference to Laura Ingraham's shut up and dribble comments when LeBron James, when that happened, she didn't like the fact that he was criticizing Trump and said, shut up and dribble, you're just a basketball player. So I love that David Hogg responded in this way. And then he also said, I 100% agree, an apology in an effort just to save your advertisers is not enough. I will only accept your apology only if you denounce the way your network has treated my friends and I in this fight. It's time to love thy neighbor, not mudsling at children. And so he also went on CNN, and we'll go to those videos in just a minute, but I wanted to open up to the panel and kind of get your thoughts on all of this.
I'm so excited about these kids. I had a lot of, I've heard a lot of commentary, and a lot of people say to me, wow, black kids are getting shot in Chicago every day, but it takes white kids to get shot for there to be some change. And I say, let's use our allies, and I said, let these white kids use their privilege to knock down doors for those of us who are not heard or seen. And I am excited about the fact that they are going in, and when they had that protest, they did have a lot of black activists there that were there bringing to the attention the intersections that need not to be ignored. So I'm like, more power to them, keep knocking down those doors and being allies to our causes, because when she said shut up and dribble to LeBron, no advertisers pulled out. And there wasn't the outrage that there is now. So if it took this young white boy to be dissed by Laura Ingraham, to shut her down and shut her up, then more power to him.
Yeah, but for me also, let's have a moment to have a reflection of why that happens, right? Like she's said so many racist things out of the like, you know.
It's commonplace.
Yeah. A is for like abhorrent racist book. And then Islamophobic things, xenophobic things. And so it takes insulting a white child, right? To have advertisers, well also, and I will give him this, he was ingenious about how he did it. He said, who are your advertisers? Right. These are the top 12, pick some, retweet it, folks go after it. He did a call to action, and he was really organized about how he was going to move around getting advertisers to boycott her show, right? Yeah. And I think though, for me, yes, like let's get them off in any way we can, but let's also talk about why it takes that certain subject to get folks off. Like we were talking earlier, Sam Harris was finally sort of taken down, and he's had a history for having a racist scientist come on and try to argue that people are genetically predisposed to being stupid based on their race and things like that. But he had a whole history of saying incredibly Islamophobic things that people just washed under the rug. I'm sorry, I don't know American proverbs that well, but what is it? Swept under the rug. Washed under the bridge.
Water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge. There you go. But so I'm happy to see these things happen, but I also want us to have conversations about why they happen and why certain things are not triggers for these moments.
Yeah, so I'm gonna push back on something a little bit because I think there is a distinction. So I think that most people would still, you guys are right. There is certainly a race angle when it comes to people like Laura Ingraham. I mean, they have literally made a profitable business off of spewing this ideology regarding inferiority among minorities, right? However, with this, I think people finally had enough when it had to do with a victim who was a minor. I mean, we're talking about a 17-year-old who just went through something so incredibly traumatic, who just experienced his friends, his teachers get gunned down right in front of him, who almost lost his own life because of this mass shooter, and is simply using the platform that he has now to speak out about something that he experienced and how he wants to reform things so no one has to experience it again. And Laura Ingraham's response, because she's so in love with the NRA, is to mock him for having a 4.2 GPA. I mean, let's see what your report cards look like. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, attacking kids is bad enough. Really? Attacking kids that just went through something traumatic like that, I think everyone, by the way, to their credit, even members of the right wing thought, okay, this is maybe going a little too far.
He is annoying. David Hogg is annoying because he's making them question the stuff they take for granted, and that makes them question where they get their theology or their ideology from. They are making people step forward and say like, well, you just do what the NRA says, maybe you should stop that. That's super annoying when someone steps up and is like, I just got shot at. And it is annoying because they had been able to get away with, after every single shooting, that line that you hear a billion times, let's not politicize this.
Right.
Right now, for the victims' benefit, they had been able to say, let's not politicize this. And now it's so annoying that the victims are saying, no, that's fine. Come on and politicize it for us. How annoying is that? That's very annoying.
Well, but those are the ones that are alive. They can criminalize all day, every day, atrociously dead black teenagers, right? Like Trayvon Martin or Michael Brown, and they're not alive to stand up for themselves.
That's right.
So I think there is a new low for a certain type of archetype for folks. And I agree, it's atrocious and it's abhorrent, and people should band together and react to it and say, you know what, this is enough. But when do we say this is enough?
Yeah, I'm 100% behind the it's Passover. And when you see like, advertisers jump ship because something terrible is said on Fox News, there's a question that you ask, which is, how is this night different from all others?
That's right, I know. And I'm just happy that there has been a reaction finally to the content that is a regular, it's a staple of Fox News, Right. So I like that there's finally some pushback. Now, David Hogg also talked about this whole incident on CNN. He's a tough cookie. Let's take a look at the first video.
Do you accept her apology? No. She's only apologizing after a third of her advertisers pulled out. And I think it's really disgusting, the fact that she basically tried promoting her show after apologizing to me.
And so what does he specifically want to address when it comes to Laura Ingraham? He explains it in the next video.
Would you consider sitting down with someone like Laura Ingraham and reaching across the aisle just for the sake of common ground and trying to find the solutions that you're talking about?
See, I would like to do that, but first I would need her to be more objective in the way that she talks about us. Because if you look at any time that she talks about us on her talk show, she speaks only to her audience, which is kind of what a talk show host does. But what she does most of the time is she's like, oh, this leftist group is trying to take all your, she gets this really threatening tone about us that we don't have. We love we're people that just want everybody to come together as Americans and help us solve this issue, because we do have to reach across the aisle to solve this. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an American issue, and as such, we have to work together.
So I think that he touched on something so important there, because their message gets hijacked and twisted by people on the right, or specifically, the gun manufacturers, the gun lobby that want to sell more guns. So they paint this picture of these activists that's just flat out false and untrue. They're just out to take your guns. They're gonna take all of your guns away. All these law-abiding citizens are gonna get their guns taken away. I mean, I've seen all sorts of crazy conspiracy theories and all sorts of paranoia on social media, from this is what they did in Cuba and we're gonna become this communist regime, to they're gonna take away your guns and then murder you with those guns. I mean, just craziness. And I like that he touched on how their message is getting twisted to something that it's really not.
They called him Hitler.
Yeah, I know.
What's the name of that lady who called him?
So which
Hitler?
is he, a fascist or a communist? Pick one.
But you know what? Like we said, I'll take it the way that I can get it, and I believe that those kids, because the younger kids are not, for the most part, segregated like that. When you watch those kids and you saw that march, everybody was there. And they have mentioned kids in the LGBTQIA community. They are talking about black kids. They were like, we are not having this anymore. This is enough. So my hope is that this trickles down and goes everywhere, including Chicago and Baltimore and Miami, and that these reforms are also for the benefit of the inner city, because I think that those children matter too.
And remember, there are now numerous states that have passed gun control legislation, including Vermont, which I don't believe the governor has signed it into law yet, but Vermont is a very gun-friendly state, and now all of a sudden, their governor, who campaigned in 2016 with a platform of "I'm never going to pass gun legislation or sign gun legislation," is saying, "Yeah, we need gun legislation." So they're successful, and it kind of reminds me of the argument that's made when it comes to cartels when they're losing, right? When there's a flare-up in violence, it's because they're losing ground. And with people like Laura Ingraham, they see that they're losing this argument and they lash out by attacking the victims who are calling for change.
You just watched the video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.